Hi, how are you? It's such a beautiful day here today that I thought I would get myself out into the garden and do a little Facebook Live video. I have literally just got back from speaking at the Bath Business Expo, which was a brilliant event, so maybe I'm just in speaking mode still. But I wanted to just share with you thoughts that have been cropping up this week and particularly hit me on when I was sitting in the train on the way back. And I was thinking about, who do we listen to in business? Who do we listen to and why? You're probably listening to all the birds flying around at the moment and singing away in the garden because it's such a glorious day. But I've been in a number of discussions recently, both on and offline. Online, particularly in Facebook groups, offline at business events and networking, things like that, mastermind groups, where people have asked for business advice and opinion. And as you do in those kind of groups, and that's absolutely perfect, that's the place for them to happen. And lots of people have chipped in to give their advice and their ideas, and that's fantastic. But my question always is, who in those instances do you listen to? Do you listen to those people who shout the loudest? Do you listen to those people who throw ideas at you left, right and centre, when maybe what you asked for was thinking through a plan or a strategy? Do you listen to the person who's actually a specialist or an expert in that field? Or do you listen to other business owners who seem to have an attractive trick or hack? Do you listen to the ideas that you like the sound of the best? Or do you listen to the ideas that maybe suggest you're going to need to put in a little bit of hard work, or maybe suggest that you might need to experiment or find out what works for your sector or do some research? So which do you listen to? Because I'll tell you how it looks to me sometimes. How it looks to me is that we sit in these Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, business discussions, offline, networking groups, mastermind groups, whatever. And we take the advice that we want to hear. We listen to the people with the loudest voices. We take on the ideas that are the quick fixes and the hacks, rather than maybe listening to the voice of reason or the voice of experience in those groups, which will maybe be saying to you, you need to go back and do a bit of research on that, or you need to think about this, that and that, and think about your resources and plan out something and test it. Who do you go to and who do you listen to? I've been caught out. I've been caught out myself by choosing to buy the services from somebody within a Facebook group who was a person who answered virtually everybody's questions in that group, who certainly shouted the loudest, who seemed to have an answer for everything, who was very strong-willed and forthright. And you know what? Their services turned out to be a pile of rubbish. And even the testimonials that they shared, it turned out were not backed by the person who allegedly shared them in the first place. So due diligence is never, never, never an overrated thing. Do your due diligence if you're actually going to buy from somebody that you see within a group. Also, when you're thinking about taking it one step further and buying into someone's products or services, have a look at how they have actually helped other people. So you'll know that obviously my thing is social media, and particularly lead generation from social media. And I've been doing this for nearly 6 years, but social media now seems to be a commoditized thing. Everywhere you go, on every street corner, there is a social media expert. So have a look at, I'm choosing this field because it's obviously one that I sit in myself, but it's just the same with web design, with SEO, with any number of different specialisms. Have a look at who that person or that business actually helps. Have they helped other people in a similar sector to you? Do they have a breadth of experience? Or are they simply taking either somebody else's ideas, rehashing them and passing them off as their own? Or are they simply taking what they've done for their business and then claiming that they are the expert across a number of different sectors? There are any number of specialists who either work with one particular sector or work across a broad range of businesses, and you'd be very wise to go and have a look at them rather than maybe choose to follow people who up until recently hadn't included anything about that service in their portfolio, or maybe have only used that particular skill or expertise in their own business and haven't yet got any expertise in sharing that with businesses from other sectors. It is very easy to listen to who shouts the loudest. I've done it myself. And that's why I'd really like you to just exercise a little bit of caution. Because sometimes as a specialist in those discussions, and this is speaking from my position, and I'm sure other specialists would say the same, you share your best advice, but because it isn't always the most trendy of ideas that you're sharing, or the niftiest little hack or tip or trick, because you are sharing something based on years of expertise and experience, then sometimes your voice can go unheard and it gets crowded out with all these people who've maybe tried something once and are then recommending that every business owner should do the same. But what you need in your business isn't necessarily what's worked for Joe Bloggs down the road and an entirely different sector. What you need in your business, where maybe you're trying to put out a real quality product or service yourself, is not necessarily going to be the same strategy that worked for the business down the road who's selling masses of products or services very cheaply. Take the advice on board by all means, but go away and sift it through and think about who the advice came from, where the advice came from in terms of the expertise behind it, and therefore maybe how much weight you should put on each piece of advice. Don't necessarily jump at the idea that sounds the sexiest to you. Don't necessarily jump and listen to the person who shouts the loudest. When you're a specialist and you've really shared your best advice and what you think might help, it can be quite off-putting to see yourself shouted down by a number of people who've literally just tried something once in their business, who are really massively enthusiastic about it, which is great. But as soon as you realise that you're not being listened to, you tend to shut up. So actually the person that you might want to listen to in these discussions might be the person who's saying, think again, do a little bit of planning, do a bit of research. They might be the ones who give you 2 or 3 pieces of advice and then leave the discussion. They might be the quietest, but they will be the ones who are giving you the most sound advice. So I just thought I'd share that with you today before other people maybe go dancing around in a spiral of ideas that aren't necessarily going to help their business. Let's go for the really great advice and tips out there and put them into use. Whatever bits of advice you get are no good if they just sit there as pieces of advice. Go away and implement as well. I'm going to sign off now because it's a gorgeous sunny day and I would like to take a little 2-minute walk around my garden. I hope that's been really useful, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye.